Okay, everybody, here we go. I'm making my video. We're on chapter 2 of Ask Not, but why not? Hi, it's Lasha. Don't say a word. Now, anybody who's watching on Lasha Rojenko, whatever you do, don't unsubscribe, because what if I got a strike on high voltage? I would need this channel. But subscribe to high voltage, because that's where all the action is. You know? Anyhow, all right. So I went back and I've looked at all we have read together thus far, and I am actually really proud of myself, because that's a good chunk to read out loud for me. So this is the way I want to do it. If you want to catch up on the audio book if you want to catch up on Ask Not, I've already started an Ask Not playlist with every single video short video, the reading videos, even my reading that took an hour when I was having my, what did I have? 4 or 5 sips of a Caesar and 4 puffs of a joint. But I kept going. But when I started to slur, I thought, I'm not really a big drinker. So, no, I haven't ingested anything. Don't say a word about my vape. Trevor likes my intro. Now, where we left off from Ask Not is we are at, just so y'all remember, because I really just want to read this. I want to read it and let you process it, because I'm not interjecting any of my personal thoughts about Carolyn Bassett's marriage to JFK, the psychology of them, or anything, because I want to read the entirety of this book and get into some chapters before we start analyzing psychology and everything else. And on the shorts under the playlist, yes, I'll shut up and start reading in a minute. Under the shorts of Ask Not, the Kennedys and the Women Destroyed, there's also the short clips. And I'm putting clips up of footage that I found of Carolyn Bassett. I remember watching that Oprah Winfrey, not on YouTube, my fellow friends, on the TV, I remember when we had remotes, my aunt could never understand how lazy people were that they couldn't get up to change the TV. Oh, by the way, you can't tell, but this is supposed to be my background. Peaches. They were a bunch of peaches, weren't they? Just peachy. Just a bunch of birds. Birds of a feather, they flock together. But we got to love our plants and our environment. Okay, here we go. So we left off on page 28, and remember I said I'll give you the pages I'm going to get through and take a snapshot. This is where we're starting, underneath the line right here. Okay, and then here. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This chapter is really long. Okay, I'll read what I can. Okay. As Marilyn Monroe would say, no pun intended, or do. The night before, now this is before the assassination. If you go back to Jackie Bouvier, chapter 1, when you go to chapter Bouvier, bye Trev, when you go to chapter Bouvier, if you go back to my playlist of Jacqueline Bouvier, chapter 1, okay? This is after his assassination. Sorry. They talked about his assassination. Now they're going back to the night before the assassination. That's why I said at the beginning, author's note, prologue, for inconvenient anywhere, F. Scott Fitzgerald, people running back into their wealth, making vast mistakes and blaming it on other people. We're lucky how we are lucky in a way, because it seems like the more power people get, especially if they're hungry for it, and I say it all the time, that they do not become good people. I hear things that people say on YouTube, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have been saying that for 100 years. And I just heard something, and I can't remember what it was now, but it'll come to me. Anyways, so Maureen Callahan takes all of the characters, and they've already been dissected in biographies. Do you know how many biographies have been written about all of these people? And God, they smell good. They're not genetically modified either. I bought them at a farm. Maureen Callahan does a really good job at explaining things. Like, for instance, when Carolyn Bessette, when Maureen Callahan wrote, Carolyn, the not subservient, like Carolyn as in she was the head of the family, and John the subservient, is what Marilyn Callahan wrote. I didn't interject on that because use your imaginations, and then when we go live to talk about Carolyn Bessette, I'll let you know, because I don't want to instill my thoughts on anybody, because people will leave it in the comments, and I read all the comments. And just because this is a small channel does not mean it's not a good channel. Just saying. All right. So now Maureen is jumping back from after everything was explained in the other chapters on Ask Not. I highly suggest going back and catching up. If not with me, with somebody else, but me, please. Yes, of course, because you're here. Thank you. So the night before, the last time they would ever make love, they had been hoping for another baby. Jack had woken that morning to her period, the first she'd had since losing their newborn son only weeks earlier. She hadn't thought she could survive that loss, but Jack got her through the worst of it. Now she was drenched in blood his and hers, chunks of his hair were stuck to her dress. Bloody strands were encrusted on her face. The last thing she wanted to do was clean any of it off. As they came to take Jack away, this is ask not, remember, when they came to take Jack away, Jackie noticed his foot sticking out, his body under a white sheet. Jackie noticed his foot sticking out. She cradled it to her head and kissed it. The closest she came to losing, we've read this, control was in the hallway afterwards, nearly passing out. A nurse, we haven't. The nurse rushing to her side with a cold compress, pressing her head to Jackie's forehead. Father Thompson, one of the priests who had just prayed over Jack, approached Jackie. If ever a moment called for him to summon grace, compassion, to offer God's assurance that all would be all right, this was it. Mrs. Kennedy, he said. Then on the verge of tears, he fled. Jackie watched as her husband's body, naked and seeming so little, was placed into a bronze coffin. Berkeley was at her side, clutching her, shaking her. Was there no man in this hospital who'd keep it together? I do remember this. Okay, this is the part where we left off. We left off when I was talking about Halston, and we left off at the irony, and then about his own wife, even his own baby daughter. And this is where we start talking about Annabella. So that was a refresher. Okay. It was August of 1956. Jack was about to make a last-minute run to be the vice presidential candidate vying for the spot on the Democratic ticket next to Governor Adlai Stevenson of Illinois. And it's interesting when you go back on the footage and you watch it, and I'm going to post some of it. I've done some digging. So there's more pictures. She had grieved those losses alone. The first pregnancy she was carrying successfully after 2 miscarriages. Her most recent, the year before, she had grieved the losses alone. No one understood, especially not her in-laws, whose credo had always been just get on with it. None of Jack's sisters, the Kennedy women are mean. Okay, none of Jack's sisters had problems getting or staying pregnant or giving birth and then getting pregnant again. Immediately, Jack's mother, Rose, had 9 children. 9? Wow, I remember reading all of this. Where are we really then? Yeah, I was talking about, I said, what is this, the monarchy? Because in the Kennedy household, there was nothing more important than giving birth to a son. That's where we left off. Okay, now I remember. I would highly suggest myself going back and figuring out where I was before I left off, but I curved the page there. Okay, when are we getting to Annabella? So when Jackie got pregnant a 3rd time, she was rightfully nervous, waiting until she was safely into her 7th month to create a nursery at their new home in Virginia. That's very smart. Unlike Gypsy Rose, who is gone through her what? 20th week of pregnancy, maybe? Oh no, it was at 11 days pregnant before. And that was like 3 weeks ago or a month ago. I don't remember. Yes, Sophiana Banana? Would you like to say hello to everybody? Sorry, Sophie has to interrupt. Yeah, I know. Mommy will be almost done. Mommy will be almost done. Mommy will be done soon, my love. Okay? Go to bed. Go to bed and sit for a while. I'll just lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Okay. Okay. Jackie. Oh, I already read this too. Jackie hated politicking. That's what it says. Politicking. I read that too. It wasn't enough Jackie was inconsolable when Jack fell short of the VP nomination. She knew how anxious he was to reach the White House. He wasn't sure he wasn't going to live a long life. Losing 3 siblings, 2 to violent deaths, and 1 simply gone missing could convince someone of that. So she sat beside Jack at a post-mortem family dinner, dressed in a fine black dress and pearls, and openly wept. It was the rarest of things for Jackie, an unguarded display of emotion. But she wasn't just sad about his loss. She wanted him to stay with her until the baby was born. She was nervous and afraid, and she wanted her husband. But Jack was headed to a trip to the Mediterranean, off to lick his wounds, I guess, from not winning the won't you stay with me? Won't you stay with me? Won't you stay with me? I'm from Boston, but it's almost English. I cannot imitate her voice for the life of me. If I practiced for a few hours, I could. That would make it much more interesting. Not that this isn't interesting. I'm sitting here with my pipe, aren't I? Jack left the next morning. She hadn't wanted to beg to be the needy wife of an important man, and Jackie could rationalize his decision like most women can, and did. Different time back then. Women were taught to stand by their men. And nowadays, I think if you want to stand by your partner, there should be nothing wrong with that. It's better to eat fruit during the day, by the way, before you eat like protein at nighttime, because fruit digests quickly. Whereas if you were eat a steak and then eat fruit, you would get indigestion, a little bit of lass out of your bass, and look at Sophie's doing the protective thing on me. Anyway, That's why you should eat fruit and vegetables first before protein. It's better for your digestion. That's all I'm saying. Like when Italians feed the salad at the end of the meal. Or is that Ukrainians? Ukrainians, I don't even know if we eat salad. We eat a lot of potatoes, though, I'll tell you that much. All right, okay. The main part of this story is that she didn't want to appear needy. She wanted to respect her husband. Her sister Lee, now this is the sister that she left out of her will, by the way, which was just so beautiful and nice of Jackie to do. Her sister Lee was married and living in London, and Jackie had no one else. That was partly by design and partly who she was. Jackie was always the happiest alone, even as a small child, preferring her dolls, her horses, or her books to actual company. As a teenager, she couldn't bear for anyone to see her imperfections, her faults, her black moods. Now she couldn't bear for anyone to know the truth about her marriage. Oh, isn't it just great living lies? That's why if you live in reality and you live in, I don't want you call, whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it the truth or the facts or your truth, as long as you're living in some kind of positive truth, you should be okay. God, these people create the problems of their own because they're so snotty about money. Now she couldn't bear it. I can't bear it. No. But I'm not making fun of her. The times that she was in, she was a woman of strength. I mean, she held the country together. She made Jack Kennedy's funeral a spectacle. And I'm going to put some footage of that up with that memory of JFK, saluting his father when he was, 2 years old? Jackie wasn't afraid of the assassins because she probably knew it was an inner job and it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald. Anybody who watches the movie Jackie with Natalie Portman, and she asked, Sophie, don't you dig at that thing when she asked to meet him and then he gets killed on television? She wasn't afraid. I'll fix it, Trevor. I've got to let Sophie outside. Sorry, spoil alerts. I've been reading about these men and this marriage, and I remember watching the JFK Oprah interview. I remember when he was with Daryl Hannah, and to find out that JFK Jr. and Carol Bassett's marriage was a bloody sham, as always, right? These socialites have to keep up their appearances. They're the ones that own the press. I know Harry and Meghan are trying to suppress the press, but those two idiots can't do it by themselves. Someone's making them look like the two idiots to go out and talk about it, and whoever the two people are that send Harry and Meghan out to go do the talking about censoring speech and working on children's brains. And I'll talk about the transgender tomorrow. No, this is too much for me to talk about at one time. Sophie, you want outside? And then I'll shut up and get reading. It's funny too. We can talk about the psychology about why, JFK Jr. liked bossy women in their lives, and the reason that she was turned on by Carolyn was because she said no. And then it reminded me of Lady Diana, lying to Charles about who she was. That's not cool. As far as I'm concerned, Lady Colin Campbell made her look like a saint compared to the housekeeper. So, yeah, I don't know what all that big fuss was about. Okay. In the last few weeks, when Jack was sailing on the Med, which means the Mediterranean, I guess Med means for short, like fed. Oh, if you just arrived here, well, you know what, we're arriving now. Okay. All right. Her sister Lee was married, living in London, yada, yada, yada. As a small child, preferring her dolls, her horses, and her books to actual company. As a teenager, she couldn't bear for anyone to see her imperfections and her faults and her black moods. And yeah, she was always skinny and smoked. She probably had an eating disorder. Now she couldn't bear for anyone to know the truth about her marriage. Da 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 da. Same old, same old, same old. When you really think about it. But the thing is, what's not the same old is the characters in the same old, because different characters handle things differently. And Jackie turned out to be a rock and an icon, and smart, and a survivor. Okay, her mother knew some of it, of course. Why else would Jackie be with her, waiting out the last weeks of her first viable pregnancy? The media bought the line about Jack needing rest, but all those men in the press had a bit of hero worship complex about Jack. Hero complex about Jack. Do I need to say more? Hushman, as you will. She understood. Jackie did too. She had no shortage of suitors, and in fact, when she met Jack Kennedy, she had been engaged to John Huston, a successful stockbroker. Jackie was so terribly much in love with Hudson. As she wrote to her priest 3 years prior, I know I will marry this boy. It's the truth, deepest, happiest feeling in the world. Then Jack Kennedy came along, and 2 months later, Jackie silently slipped her engagement ring in Hudson's pocket and walked away. Hudson thought it was the coldest thing anyone had ever done to him, but to Jackie, who hated messy emotional scenes, it was the cleanest, kindest cut she could deliver. No, you mean her psychopathic behavior voided her of empathy? That's something Meghan Markle would do. Am I being too harsh? May I say, if you've never seen Grey Gardens, go watch Grey Gardens, about Edie Beale, who was Jackie Kennedy's cousin or aunt, and little Edie was Jackie O's older cousin, who lived in squalor, and the Onassis was so kind to help them refurbish the house. And he had like billions of dollars in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And do you know that his son passed away in a plane crash as well? It's true. Jack was hardly a sure thing, but Jackie was laser focused on landing him, the handsome, charismatic, witty, intelligent, popular, powerful, wealthy Jack Kennedy. I just drooled. On track to become senator, and with his father's his father's and the money and the president, Jack Kennedy, who could and most often did have the women he wanted. They tore Marilyn Monroe apart. Oh, that clip I put up of Marilyn Monroe, Jackie Kennedy did not go to that engagement on his birthday, because if anybody threatened Jackie Kennedy, it was Marilyn Monroe. I just thought of something that I'm not even gonna say. Jack was hardly a sure thing, but Jackie was, okay, laser focused. Okay, so she went after, see, you know, I wish I had married for money. I'm not like that. Somebody with goals, though, you know, at least somebody who can drive. I need somebody to drive me around. Okay, Jackie wanted to marry him. She knew it early on. It wasn't just his family's wealth, though. That was something. The importance of marrying rich, having been drummed up into Jackie and led at a young age. And Lee at a young age. See, I need my glasses. But many things she admired. The Kennedy clannishness and loyalty. So unlike what she had growing up with, they were already a famous family. One resident to outsiders, and that means boyfriends, girlfriends, anyone who married in or had a seat at their table. And Jack was so much like the father, who was named John but went by Black Jack. Both were cocksmen and rogues and renegades. People were drawn to Black Jack and Jack Kennedy and their movie star looks and fizzy I don't know, I can't read that. And fizzy something about them that floated above a darkness below, a darkness few would ever know. That should be a song. Oh, the darkness they did know, they just flew off the darkness below and held to the light of liberty. Oh, I'm going to give you a clip of the butler, too. Anyway, her father eventually slid into alcoholic ruin, but Jack was one of life's winners. He was an optimist, a brilliant conversationalist who, like Jackie, relished history and literature as much as gossip and vantage. He had that thing, that magnetism that turned every head in the room that way, just like Marilyn Monroe. That magnetism that turned every head in the room Jack was the challenge. Jackie loved the challenge. If she became Jack's wife, she might succeed where her mother had not. Training an infamous womanizer, and Jack was a passport to a bigger life than was of the reasons Jackie rejected John Huston. Her life with him would have been comfortable, sure, but safe, simple, leaving her to wither in some leafy suburbia with all other democratic housewives. She would be the equivalent of wisteria, beautiful but sagging under the weight of blue expectations. Jackie thought, no, though. This man lived among power brokers and princes, aristocrats and actors. His life was only going to get more exciting and unpredictable, big and enormous. Jackie didn't just want that life. She wanted that life with him. Do you hear me? With him. Monogamy. I'm going to stop there. We'll be picking up at page 33. You know what? I'll probably end up doing it later on tonight when I'm off camera. I know that wasn't perfect. It was fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I could have read more, but you know what? I do have an eye appointment that I keep missing, and I do need new glasses. I really do. I wish I had cheered Denise's eyes. All right. Okay, my friends. I'm going to finish my peach now. And, Sophie's wandering outside. Oh, wandering. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow for chapter 2, part 3 of Jackie Bouvier Kennedy, and I promise I'll finish her tomorrow. And then we can get on to Marilyn. Oh, and I'm going to dig for some good stuff that I found on Jackie and Carolyn. And I saw that. I can't believe how old I am. Bye.